Welcome to the Honest Podcast. I'm AJ, and this is Lauren of Honest London. Today's podcast is all about strategy and planning and forecasting for the new year. 2020 is literally coming to an end, and 2021 will hopefully be a better year for all of us. Whether you're working in-house for a marketing agency, comms, PR, digital, or social, planning ahead is key. And we are going to talk about what you need to do to ensure you have the basics right before January comes along. Now, I work alongside Lauren, who has expertise across digital and social, and I complement Lauren with the strategy and planning. But Lauren, when working across social and digital, what do you think is key when it comes to planning?
So when it comes to social media, it's all about content planning. Content is definitely key and getting that right content. Another area that's really, really important to focus on, and I think it just saves you so much time and stress during the year is if you get it done straight away, is getting those key calendar days, such as World Kindness Day, the type that are likely to trend on social media that associate around your brand. I just think it saves you so much effort. There's nothing worse than logging on to Twitter on the day and seeing something trending and you think, oh, shit, I should have done something for this. But no, I think that's definitely the main areas for social media.
And I think, you know what, you've hit the nail on the head. It's about making sure that you plan key pertinent days so that you can capitalize on those calendar moments. But the one important thing that I have to raise is that when you're working in-house, you need to make sure you work as a team and you build a holistic strategy and plan. There's been so many occasions when I've worked in-house before where different sectors of the comms and marketing team start pulling together plans that are so not cohesive or holistic. And I think it's really, really important to sit down with the marketing team, the social team, PR team, comms teams, depending on how big your teams are, and actually work through a plan together. I think that's probably the key thing, because without consistency, you don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to execution, because your messages become skewed, your content becomes irrelevant, and then you're scrabbling for ideas. And that's one thing that we want to try and help you guys avoid. So I think if we start from the top, the first thing you need to do is work out what your goals and objectives are for the 12 months. So whether you want to increase traffic on your website, whether you want to generate new customers, whether you want to gain more reach through PR, or whether you want to drive footfall to a brand or increase the number of sales you're working towards. The key thing is establishing what you want to achieve in that year. I think the second thing, therefore, is working out what that strategy is going to be. And the strategy is all about the how. How are you going to deliver your social media plan? How are you going to execute your digital plan? How are you going to put together a marketing plan that has all the touch points and allows you to execute everything you need, whether it's on a digital format or whether it's out of house, whether it's media, whatever it may be. It's just making sure that you have the how ready. Now, when working across different formats, and Lauren and I do this all the time, we did it when we worked together, we do it now, it's making sure all the different elements are pulled in together. So let's say, for example, we worked on a rebrand for a past client of ours. Now, the marketing team basically took over and wanted to do a full rebrand, which is great, perfect. But when the messaging is fed through via the comms team, marketing don't seem to understand that. So it's very, very wise to have your messages tied together so they're consistent, because if that thread isn't running through every single campaign, whether that is a billboard, posters, ads, digital, social media, then everything will seem slightly disjointed. And I think a prime example of when you're doing a rebrand is making sure that your one message is consistent through everything you're doing. The second most important thing, once you've established what your how is working through the tactics. So that's the what. So, for example, Lauren, when we talk about social and digital, for example, what would you say are the sort of key tactics that people should really think about?
Yeah, so for me, the first thing I would think about is making sure we do have that correct content. and that there's definitely a theme to the social media channels and to the campaigns, that it's all in line with one another. There's nothing worse than looking at a Twitter account of a brand and then an Instagram and then a Facebook and nothing lines together. It all needs to go together. And, you know, when you click on the Instagram, but you've always been on their Facebook, you know it's that brand, or it matches up with the website. Also, like social media ads, are they going to be video? Are they going to be static? You're going to consider A/B testing to see what works better. What do you consider a success? You need to figure out what is a success for your brand. At the moment, is it just getting seen? Is it getting impression gain? Or would it be a click-through rate to your website? Or is it getting those final sales? Are you going to plan on using influencers or celebrities to help push your brands? Are you going to use micro influencers, or are you going to go for very, very large influencers? What would work better for your brand? Again, for me, I think one common mistake that our clients definitely make is when they want to work with an influencer, you know, a small local brand, they would think, oh, bigger the better. But actually, a local London based food reviewer would actually be way more effective. So it's just getting that planned out, making a key list of people that you really want to reach out to and see who you can gain. And also from a digital perspective, PPC campaigns. Are you going to do Google ads? Is your SEO not where you're ranking on certain key search terms that you wish you were? Especially in the time period at the moment, is your shop currently closed? It's crucial for you to be ranking high on Google at the moment, as that's essentially your new high street spot. So you really need to work on your SEO. How are you going to do that? Do you need help on that? Do you have meta descriptions? Is your content correct? Are you regularly updating? It's just putting in all of these areas, and you don't realize how much there is to it until you start listing it like this and you think, oh wow, there's actually quite a lot to do just from a digital aspect. And I think it's even more key than ever in this time period where we're going through different types of lockdowns. I mean, in the UK especially, we're going through different tier systems where change is happening all the time. So I don't know about you, AJ, but I think at the moment it's key to make sure your online presence is absolutely there, because everyone can still access that.
Definitely, I think you've got it nailed down completely, and I think this is where the challenge lies when it comes to planning and strategy and forecasting. So you've given some really relevant tactics there, but the question that I have to ask is, you have all these tactics, but if you don't have a goal or a plan or a strategy to tie these tactics together, then it seems very irrelevant. So the next point I think is really important is thinking about why you're doing this. Is your plan holistic? Does it tie everything together? Now, the one key thing that we spoke about in our last podcast was the relevancy of influencers. Now, making sure that influencers are posting things that are sensitive to what's going on right now, and that relevancy is just as important when it comes to planning. Now, when you're working in PR or marketing and comms, trying to deliver a news story, for example, needs to have some sort of peg or angle and a hook. And there's all those everyday calendar moments that take place 365 days of the year. You have New Year's, you have Valentine's Day, you have Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, etc. I mean, there are so many days. I mean, you've got National Clean Health Air Day, or whatever the words are. But there's so many things that you could cleverly piggyback on, and I think it's important to create a 12-month calendar plan which breaks down your PR angles, your tactics, which breaks down your brand angles in your tactics, which breaks down your marketing, whether it's digital, whether it's ads, whether it's out of home, whether it's social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever the platforms you're going to do. It's all about creating an omni-channel marketing strategy which looks at all of the channels together. And I think once you've mapped that out, you can actually think about it and think, well, actually, is this holistic? And if it's not, question why it's not. Also think about who's in charge. I mean, we both know that when you're working in-house and in agencies, there are so many cooks and it gets so confused. So you need to have one orchestra or one person that's pulling all these things together to ensure there's an element of consistency. The other thing is keep it simple. I mean, everybody tends to create marketing and comm strategies which look pretty, which have so many diagrams and graphs and all of that. But that's not needed. I mean, it's as easy as creating an Excel document which has everything listed: your objectives, your goals, your aims, the strategy, which is the how, the tactics, which is how you're going to do them, and then your monthly themes. So from January to December, work out what your themes are, work out what your angles are, and then work out what the key spikes are going to be throughout that year. When I mean key spikes, I mean things like if you are doing a rebrand of your brand or a particular brand or a campaign, think about when you want to do it. Considering it's November now, do you want to launch it in February? Do you want to rebrand in January, February, March, April? Think about the impact that's going to have and pick a pertinent time in which that's going to give you the best results. Now, the one thing that I used to struggle with when putting plans together and executing is the support you have, because with the current climate, budgets are being cut constantly. And I think the fear is that when you're a small team, sometimes it could just be one of you or two of you, you need agency support. But the struggle is that you're always asking for more budget to get agency support, but sometimes you don't get it. The thing about us at Honest London is that we like to work with our clients on a very fluid and informal basis, and we completely understand that not everybody has a budget. So we really want to help our clients. And so if you haven't got thousands of pounds to spend with a big agency, you can consider us and our new pricing strategy, which you can see on honestlondon.co.uk. We'll describe that in a little bit more later. But we have this amazing texting service, which you're able to just text us your questions, and we'll help you and advise you on any questions relating to planning or strategy or whatever else it may be. And I think, Lauren, when we worked together as well, we struggled because remember that time, I mean, we were lucky we had a team of 4, but when we put that big strategy plan together, and then overall when we presented it back to the board, it just they didn't want any of it. And we listened to what they wanted, but it just ended up being a waste of time, really. And the point I want to make is that when you're putting a plan together, think about who you're actually presenting it to, because sometimes people think they know what they want, but actually they only think they know what they want. They don't really know what it is they want, and that's the big challenge. But if you're lucky enough to be in a team where you're putting a plan and people understand what's going on, that's a big hurdle to overcome. So in a nutshell, strategy and planning is all about the hows and the whats. And the thing is, don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. Put together a 12-month calendar. Work out what you want to do for each platform, whether it's social, PR, comms, marketing. Write everything down that you want to achieve. Once that's signed off, then you can then work out a critical path, which allows you to then put a little bit of effort to work out the detail in terms of what needs to be done, when and how, so that everybody in the team knows exactly what's expected, what the deadlines are, what the deliverables are. Getting a bit tongue twisted there. And just be mindful that things change, and they change all the time. As long as you've got the key elements of crisis, issues, management all in place, because that is your foundation. And considering we're in a very precarious time at the moment, that there could be lockdown part 3, nobody knows. It's just making sure that you're prepared and that you're getting everything you need to, but just making sure that all your creative ideas, your planning is relevant, and there's a level of authenticity to it. So that's a little bit from Honest London on strategy and planning. I think I've waffled too much, Lauren. I think I'm getting bored of my own voice. I mean, is there anything you think that we may have missed out?
I don't think so. No, I think that's a really nice insight into planning. And like you said, if people, like you said, budgets are being cut left, right, and center, we do offer a very cheap texting service for brands. So if people do need help, it's a way of getting easy access to us, essentially. But no, I think you covered it all.
And the other thing is that I don't want people to underestimate that, you can write a plan and a strategy in a couple of hours, because it takes time. And I think this is when you really need to invest before Christmas is up, is to think about exactly what you want to try and achieve for next year. So spend some time doing it, be mindful, be authentic, have relevance, and good luck for 2021. So Thank you for listening, folks. This is Honest London. I'm AJ. This is Lauren. And for more information, check us out on honestlondon.co.uk.